face in
Nice
your
dude.
head right now. There it is. Look at that. That's from South Africa. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Where did you
GP.
get that?
South Africa?
I actually have a bag with a plate on it in my office
Yeah.
in South
This
Africa.
is the real one. I
It's a
bought
real
it
one.
myself.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Nice. I
Yeah.
like it.
I love South Africa.
So, okay, so we've limited ourselves to half an hour. Welcome back, Mert. Welcome back, Prima. Welcome back, Ronak. We've missed you, but we have made some progress. We're in our last week of the pilot. Lots of issues around the blockchain that we'll have to distill, and we'll have to set up another meeting, I think, to reflect on all these issues. But for this one, I wanted to pass it over to Jakai and Jorge, who have been working with the team in Nepal from World Vision to kind of take our original model, Mert, that you put together on the dashboard and apply it to this pilot. And what we wanted to do as part of the evaluation for this pilot was to have a series of focus groups with donors to kind of get their feedback on what they thought about this process, how they thought about converting fiat to tokens and then being able to disperse those tokens to campaigns, being able to follow the flow of money along this value chain to the marketplace. And we wanted to have just a quick run internally for us, just to give some quick feedback to the team. Tomorrow we'll have kind of a first friendly discussion with our colleagues from trust funds, Ashish Prima, who's kind of running this other project in
Yeah, Cote d'Ivoire
Cote
on.
d'Ivoire. Exactly. To get his sense from like the official trust fund side, and then World Vision will join too, because they're basically funding the work of Aru and the Nepal team, Sanjay. And then as a follow-up to that, we'll have something with Telefonica, Ministry of Education, hopefully Prosperidad Social, so some other kind of Colombia-related donors to get feedback. And this will be part of the evaluation for the project on the question of whether indeed the use of the blockchain improves transparency and traceability of funds. Cool? Okay. So let me pass over to Jorge Jakai to go ahead and jump into the presentation. This is kind of a dry run for what we might do or what we will do tomorrow. Hi, Ronak. The hair is impressive. I mean, I've gone to wearing a hat, but I don't have the full body of hair that you've been able to cultivate during this incubation period.
Yeah, I think it's just started, and hopefully it's going to get even bigger.
Oh yeah, you're just getting started. There's lots more space there. I have certain genetic and age limitations that I'm not going to get up there, but I'm going to go out in other directions. So that's all right. I'm sorry, a little aside, just to give a compliment to Ronak's new look.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, Jorge. Yep, looks So just also, Jorge, just before you go on the next part, just to remind everybody that, we spent a lot of time thinking about very interesting rules, token rules, and we limited it down to just the most simple, that we eliminated mentors from the equation, just focused on agents and just focused on them completing an activity and getting over 80%. So very simple rules. The other piece to remember is that the vendor is the same as the donor. So we don't have a separate vendor in the marketplace and then a donor providing fiat. Basically, what we did was we took the value of the data plans that Telefonica was providing, determined how many they were going to provide, multiplied by the number of agents that we expected to have in the campaign, got a total value for the campaign, and then determined kind of the rules by chapter. And the idea was that we would allocate a reserve of all of the tokens. We also had an exchange. It was a 5-to-1 exchange rate between the Colombian peso and the Evoke coin. But we allocated all the Evoke coins that could be earned in that chapter. So assuming that 100% of the students did all of the activities and all of them got 80%. So if that's the case, all of the Evoke coins would be distributed by the rules. Whatever wasn't distributed, if one student didn't get 80, then that distribution would be held to the end of the chapter, and then it would be up to the professor or mentor to distribute the remaining Evoke coins per team. So at the end of every chapter, there'd be an allocation, a reserve that would then be burned at the end of every chapter. So there'd be 0 Evoke coin left at the end of every chapter. And we just to kind of clarify how this scheme was finally designed. And there were a whole bunch of issues that cropped up that we won't go into now, but for another discussion. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jorge. I just wanted to clarify that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so here we can see a resume of the structure interface, the infrastructure of the platform. The oh, the blue square is the Moodle virtual education site. This is the Moodle, and this is connected only to the plugin of Motivated, to the dashboard of Motivated. There we configure other rules, and it is not directly connected to the blockchain. So as you can see, the e-learning rewards, it's the one who interact with the blockchain interface, not directly to the Moodle. And well, the blockchain interface interacts directly with the Evoke dashboard upwards for one side, and to the other side, it sent the transactions to the blockchain. Well, this is pretty much the infrastructure, simplified version of infrastructure. And now we are going to see, this is the dashboard developed by Nepal team. Here we can see 3 examples of different campaigns. Currently, we have only one campaign, but it is available for future campaigns. The one that we are working now is the first Ciudades Sostenibles Piloto EAN. And in that row, you can see the campaign budget. I mean, the allocated budget in EvoCoin. For instance, this campaign have 880 million EvoCoins. Also, you can see the budget that the students have already earned and the remaining budget. In the bottom, you can see the amount of donors for this campaign and the total amount of students, for instance, 259 students. If you click on each campaign, you can see more detailed information. Yeah, this is currently the real information retrieved from the blockchain API that I told you earlier. So you can see here the location of the campaign. In future campaigns, maybe on other locations, not necessarily Colombia. You can see the start and end date of each campaign, the total budget allocated in EvoCoins, and in the future we are going to add the equivalent among the token and the currency, dollar and local currency, for this case Colombian pesos. And other thing that we are going to add to this screen is the data plans or the donations that the donor are offering and their corresponding cost in the token and in the fiat. Up left, you can see a graphic distribution of the actual state of the campaign. In blue, you can see how much the students have earned. Well, not so much. Most of the tokens haven't been redeemed. And by last, in the bottom, you can see the transactions retrieved from the blockchain. For this case, the donor have asked us to have a link to retrieve all the transactions. So in the bottom left, you can find a link with CSV with all the transactions. Well, this is the dashboard that the donors can see.
Thanks, Jerkai. Just to clarify, for the team, a few of the challenges on the numbers. One was there was an issue with actually getting information on which students had Movistar SIM cards and then distributing those SIM cards. So there were supposed to be 2 opportunities to redeem, but because of the delay in getting that information, there's now only 1 at the end. That's why there's nothing redeemed yet by students. That'll all happen at the end. The other was challenges in the UI UX around receiving their bonus. After they get the 80%, it wasn't automatic that they received the additional Evoke coins. They had to take an extra step to accept the bonus, which a number of the students did not do. There was also an issue with the quests that were kind of separate from the missions. That a number of students just decided not to do the quests. And then finally, there were issues with the timing of when to close a chapter so that you close out all of the activities and then distribute the leftover Evoke coin. Because there were students that were kind of at all different levels and had fallen behind, and there was issues as to kind of when you close out the chapter. So those were some of the issues. I don't know, Iñaki, Jorge, Jakai, does that cover them? Anything else to add on?
Yes, no. If I may, just to add on your point, the team already is thinking on a way of Bob mentioned at the beginning, no, that the some of the Evo coins that were allocated for certain chapter, if those Evo coins were not distributed, the mentors were the ones in our initial idea, the ones distributing those like remaining Evo coins of the chapter to the best teams, to the best evocations. But again, because of this issue with the timing, we were not able to do that until now. But in discussion with Jorge and the team, we are thinking on different ways to do that, even if it's at the end, maybe with the best teams at the end or so on. But our idea is to try to distribute the Evo coins. About the issue, the user experience issue to redeem the quality bonuses with the Evo coins, the team did some. They proposed an alternative way to do that, and some teams started to redeem those bonus based on the quality, but obviously it's not that enough yet. But our idea is to encourage a student to redeem those quality bonuses because it's actually something that they have earned. And just today, the team put publicly these graphic novels in the marketplace. So that's something that the students, they can start redeeming it. But again, it was made available today. And the idea is that, again, to show to the students, say, now the marketplace is open, you can go there and redeem your Evo coins. They will include, the team will include in the flow, in the workflow for the students, like a notification saying marketplace is open, you can click here and you can go there. So they will be able to redeem those. One last point on the dashboard, as the Nepal team mentioned, this is now that is what we have, but they are now working on including the rate between the Evo coins and the Colombian pesos, including maybe information about the detailed granular information on the things that they will redeem. And those are my points. You can see in the screen the marketplace and the products that are there now available.
So I know we scheduled 30 minutes, so I wanted to, I know Ronak had a question in the chat, but let me just go around to Merit, Prima, and Ronak. Merit, any comments, questions, clarifications from your side?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to talk about the dashboard. Just a bit more cosmetic changes. uh, uh, for instance, the grid shows, addresses, from to two. I don't know if this is not like a real blockchain, so maybe instead of putting address, we can, who is from and who is getting paid. I mean, in the end, we want this to be traceable. So I mean, these addresses won't mean anything to the donor, I guess, or when someone is auditing this. Second thing, it might be, I think Yakai said it, maybe this TXS should be a link that go to a blockchain explorer so you can really see the transaction. And maybe a bit more aggregated reports. I don't know if you guys have ever used QuickBooks, those kind of bookkeeping software. Maybe have a weekly aggregated report, daily report, or monthly report that give you, how much spent this week, how much spent on which campaign, sort of thing. I mean, I don't think it will be hard to do it. And one other thing, so this is getting directly from the blockchain, or you are putting, sorry about the noise, putting putting everything on a regular database and pulling it from that database.
Half of the data is from a regular database. The upward is is a regular database, an API. The bottom side is it's from the blockchain, but it's not the actual contract because we had the time issues that Bob mentioned. So this is not the actual updated data of the blockchain, real blockchain. You can see that the timestamp is a little old, but it is connected to the blockchain.
Okay, great job. Great to see this comes to a reality. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Mert.
Thanks, Mert.
Prima, any thoughts or questions on your side?
Bob, no, thank you. Actually, I've been kind of contemplating a little bit about the steps you just mentioned, which came up additionally, where students had to probably take 1 or 2 additional steps to claim their tokens. I thought that was a little insightful because there is a lot of these practical nuances that we have missed when we did the initial thinking. So maybe the operational side of it, we need to go back and see what has happened and how can we correct it going forward.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
we need to put these in lessons for the DT4D as well, because maybe others can benefit from it.
No, exactly. I mean, there's a whole host of lessons that I think we can pull together and have a whole separate conversation on them. Is kind of part of our in the project summary.
Thank you.
Ronak?
Thank you, Jorge, and everyone for demoing this. It's very interesting. I just had one quick clarification in the rules part that you were explaining. So the question was that is that rule engine exploring any blockchain smart contract capabilities? So are you putting those rules within the smart contract, and that's how the tokens are getting dispersed?
I don't understand all, but well, I'm gonna try to answer. So the rules are in the plugin called Motivated because of usability, because there are a lot of rules, too much rules, token rules, and it wasn't viable to burn it on blockchain because we change it very often. But in the smart contract, you have other rules. For instance, don't overpass the the certain limits for each agent and for each campaign don't overpass the campaign allocated amount. So those are very simplified rules and pretty much the traceability mainly on the blockchain.
So I think this is a lesson that we're going to have to reflect upon, because I mean, if we were pure about this, these would be written into a smart contract and not able to change. I mean, they would be defined up front, and whatever happened throughout the campaign. We hedged a little bit and gave flexibility because of all the unknown variables. But going forward, I think these will have to be written in a smart contract. We have to be very clear, and will have to be, adhered to throughout the campaign in order to have it, have some fidelity with the donor that indeed these are the rules on which these will be displaced. There'll be, Jakai can't go in there and kind of change the rules and give Ronak a little extra because he was a little late and he's a buddy of his. No, that the rules will be kind of in code and they will run during the course of the campaign.
Yeah, that makes sense, and thanks for clarifying. The reason for asking that question was also because if you're sort of saying that, okay, how those smart contract capabilities sort of address results-based financing in a way. So I was wondering, for example, if a student sort of finishes a campaign, is that being sort of written in a smart contract? Okay, as soon as you finish it, you get this token directly to you. So what you're mentioning, Bob, that makes sense. In terms of how that could be leveraged going forward. This is
Yeah,
very interesting.
and this interaction between kind of motivated as a plugin rules and kind of Ethereum smart contract rules written in Solidity. I mean, that needs to be, we need to figure out kind of how we're going to do that going forward.
Yeah, actually, one more question that I had for Yake and the team was, like, what was the experience in terms of using the testnet, Ethereum testnet? Were there any specific challenges? Maybe not at this time, and not to sort of discuss that at this point, but maybe highlighting some of those might also be very helpful going forward. That what were some of the technical challenges that came when you were sort of using the
Yeah.
Ethereum public testnet for that?
Well, the main challenge have been the big amount of transactions. So that has been a challenge because we have to create some sort of queue of pending transactions. That have been one of the challenges. Well, the other challenge is that this plugin motivated, we don't have access to the code of this plugin because it is allocated on a cloud. We have Jorge show you that dashboard. We can set the rules there, but we cannot actually change that interaction. So we had to modify our code accordingly to that plugin in order to have fastest results. It helps us to get faster results, but have that limitation that we cannot modify it.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense, and maybe even documenting some of these might be super helpful. Just last point, and then I'll hold off because we are running out of time. The point that Mert mentioned, I just want to re-emphasize that I think it becomes a lot more interesting. Maybe not now, but when we sort of visualize this. So in terms of the fund flow, I think very interesting visualization can come from how tokens are flowing from different wallets. I think it's called Yake visualization or something like that, which I can share, which is very good to show how the fund is flowing. So I think that might be very interesting to put on the dashboard. But yeah, that's it. I think this is super interesting.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, so I think this will be an iterative work in progress. And I think just on one quick point from my side is Jorge, that you'll have to kind of adapt a little bit the presentation to your audience, because I think for those maybe non-technical at the Ministry of Education or Prosperidad Social, they might not completely be grabbed by the architecture at first. I mean, it's important to kind of show how it's developed, but they'll want to kind of get into kind of understand. Okay, I put my money into this. How do I know where it goes, and how do I understand that if a student does something, I can see who the student is and where they got the money from and what the timestamp was and what they actually accomplished. So the aspect on the dashboard also of the results too might be something that we want to think about, like how many students actually accomplished each of the missions out of how many actually got 80% or above out of how many. So that type of element is a donor wanting to not just see where the money goes, but kind of what the results were for what their money paid for might be something else that we might want to consider.
In this regard, Bob, sorry, for tomorrow's meeting and talking about the audience, I don't know if you have any suggestions for Jorge and Yakai maybe to adapt that, because what you mentioned of adding these new features to the dashboard, I think that it's key and very important, and we can insist on this idea that it's going to be an iterative process, so we can add new features to that dashboard. But for tomorrow's meeting, I don't know if you have any suggestions for Jorge and Yakai, maybe to adapt the language or not.
No, I think going much faster into the actual dashboard itself. I think you can, Ashish, I don't think is very technical. I think maybe you can maybe go through that very technical. So they will be less interested in kind of the architecture. So I think I would adapt that part. But again, they're also going to be friendly. So they're, it'll be people that we can kind of get some feedback. And you might also want to add, based on feedback, these are some additional features we plan to add. Is there any other functionality that you would be interested in, both from the bank's perspective of tracking trust fund money and from World Vision's perspective of tracking donor money. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm sorry we went over a little bit. And this is going to be basically the same thing tomorrow. So if you can make it, fantastic. If not, not a big deal. We're going to have Ashish from our trust fund group and then World Vision as kind of the next round. And this is just to kind of get the team, getting some feedback before we kind of present this to some that are less familiar with the work that we're doing. But thanks, guys. This was awesome. And again, we'll come back to you in the next few weeks with kind of a deeper dive on all things token.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, guys.
Very great.
And I know, Merritt, to get your attention from now on, I just have to use a much higher voice. And like refer to you as Doug. And then we'll get your attention. Okay.
All right. Great to see you.
guys.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Nicky.
Thank you,
Bye,
bye.
Bob.